Our live stream today is about turn 40, turn 50, turn 60, and what happened? You gain weight more easily and lose muscle mass. This occurs for several reasons, including hormonal decline. This happens because we no longer absorb amino acids as efficiently. We no longer absorb certain nutrients. We produce less coenzyme Q10. Several reasons. So what will I share in today's live? A protocol. Mainly for you to maintain your muscle mass. Even more important than the benefits of looking good through aesthetic enhancement, muscle mass is essential for you to have freedom, for you to live much longer. The more muscle mass you have, the longer you will live, okay? I'll explain why that happens. And prolong your youth. So I'll bring the protocol here. What kind of diet should you have? After 40, after 50, after 60, your diet needs to be specific. Yeah, our digestive system doesn't work the same way anymore. After 40, 50, 60, those supplements that used to be optional to improve your performance are now almost mandatory. I'm going to share the top 3 here. And exercise. There's a specific way to exercise after 40, after 50, after 60 as well. When you were 20, going to the gym 2 or 3 times a week and doing things however you liked was great. After 40, 50, 60, that's no longer true. Things change. You must be more assertive. So we're going to talk about the protocol to maintain and to gain muscle mass after 40, 50, 60, 70 years old. But first, my friends, I need to make my pitch. Those who follow me here already know that I'm taking part in AESO. I was nominated to Universo and we're in the qualifying stage. So I need your vote to be among the top 20 in this stage, okay? This is important and you're already helping me a lot. We are already virtually qualified, but there are still 20 days left in the campaign and you can vote every day. The link is in my bio for you to help me. The link is also in the pinned comments on this video. It will also be in the description. It's on my website. So go there, vote for me every day. You can vote until June 13th, okay? Go there in the morning and vote for Dr. Moacir Rosa. We're already qualified, but that's when it's dangerous. You tend to relax once you've made it. Here, people overtake you, so I need everyone to vote for me daily until June 13th, okay? The link is right there. I pinned it in the comments. It's on my website. It's in the description, and it's in my bio. Thank you so much, my friends, for your support up to this point. So let's get to the video. Let's go to the video. What matters is the video. Nobody wants to hear a candidate's campaign, right? I never thought I'd be one, but here I am. So let's go. I've already done my campaign. Let's go to the video, Moacir. First, why does this happen? Why? When I was younger, in my 20s or 30s, I went to the gym twice a week. I don't know. I ate whatever I wanted. I didn't gain weight. I didn't have my muscle mass. After I turned 40, 50, 60, my arms shrank, my arms got thinner, my legs got thinner. And here, look, it got bigger, my friends, for several reasons. Okay, this happens. The most classic, the clearest, and the most physiological of all is a hormonal issue. Both women tend to produce less testosterone and less growth hormone. As the years go by, just like women do, women have an additional factor. They have a variation, a very big hormonal change during menopause. So women's menopause is especially harmful when it comes to weight. Women tend to gain weight more easily. So for us men, it's milder, right? This hormonal drop in women often happens suddenly. So the first reason is a hormonal reason, but there are other reasons. Your basal metabolism decreases as you age. You have difficulty absorbing nutrients. As you age, our acidity decreases. Our acidity, when decreased, we absorb less vitamin B12, we absorb fewer amino acids, which are the building blocks of muscles, and we produce less coenzyme Q10. We're already getting little sunlight, which means less vitamin D. So it's a series of factors. We sleep worse, right? Sleep is very important for muscle building. The worse you sleep, the less muscle you'll have. And over time, melatonin decreases. We tend to sleep less. Stress is higher, right? I usually joke, my friends, that with age, all hormones decrease, except for cortisol. It only goes up, okay? Cortisol only goes up. It's incredible. And cortisol promotes weight gain, right? Cortisol is the enemy of testosterone, but there is a protocol that we need to follow from this age on. I, for example, am already 51, so I've been following this protocol for a few years now. Exactly. For example, my goal isn't to get super buff or have a lot of muscle. I want to keep my body the way it is, right? So I don't gain fat and keep my muscle mass just the way it is. I'm even getting a bit buff myself. I've been fasting regularly and enjoy intermittent fasting, which helped me lose 3 or 4 kilos. I actually need to gain a bit more muscle mass. So I'm going to change the protocol. But what is the basic protocol? So I'm going to break the protocol down into 3 parts here, okay? I'm going to talk about nutrition. First, there's nutrition. Then I'll talk about supplementation. I'm going to bring an amazing supplement. At 20 or 30, it didn't affect you as much. But now they're going to make all the difference, and you'll find out what they are. And I'm going to talk about, of course, exercises. I'll tell you which exercise you need to do, how often, and for how long. It's much less than you think, okay? I'll also briefly discuss the importance of sleep. Now, regarding nutrition, what do you have to do differently from what you did back when you were young? Basically, you need more protein. You need to consume more protein than before. Why, Moacir? Because as we get older, we have 2 problems. First, the decrease in acidity. I've already mentioned this. Because of that, mainly, protein digestion is compromised. You have a harder time breaking down these proteins, therefore absorption decreases. And you also have more difficulty absorbing in the intestine. As you get older, in other words, you need to consume more protein to have the same absorption as a young person. So a young person can consume 1 gram, 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight and absorbs almost all of it. We need to consume more to absorb the same amount. So much so that young people notice, what is protein, Moacir? Many people discuss protein, but many don't actually know what it is. Basically, look, animal products, meats, very rich in protein, all meats, okay? Chicken, beef, fish, right? Seafood is protein, okay? Egg is protein, cheese is protein, okay? Watch it. Are you just referring to animal sources? Yes. Animal-based proteins have the highest biological value, are more absorbable, and essential amino acids are more present in these animal-based foods. Are there plant-based proteins? Yes, there are. Beans have a decent amount of protein. Quinoa, chickpeas, there are several vegetables that have protein. They have less than animal-based products, but that's just a fact. They have fewer essential amino acids than animal products and are absorbed less efficiently. So vegetables alone are not a complete source of protein. Vegetarians and vegans need to have a balanced diet, okay? And I recommend for those who are vegetarian or vegan to use a supplement based on whey, which actually isn't whey, right? A protein based on peas. There's rice protein too. There's a whey that's not actually whey. Plant-based, it's an option for those who are vegetarian, for those who are vegan, okay? But animal-based foods have a greater richness of these high biological value proteins. And so, my friends, it's important you should spread this protein intake over the day. So it's not really recommended, for example. Well, it is, but that's a different protocol that you talk about. Intermittent fasting for 24 hours for a prolonged period. If you do it too often, what happened to me can happen. I lost almost 3 kilos. I need to start muscle recovery since I lost a lot of weight. I enjoy fasting and feel good when I do it. I need to switch to a more aggressive protocol to gain muscle mass. Eat more often. So it's a good idea to spread that protein throughout the day, okay? So you need to have a protein-rich meal in the morning, a protein-rich meal at lunch, and a protein-rich meal with whey in the afternoon. Moacir, it's tough to eat protein with work and all. Whey, okay? Take the whey in a bottle like this one, just with water. Put 2 tablespoons of whey in here. Shake it. It's ready. Your protein intake, quality whey, right, my friends? Please. I'll talk about supplements in a bit. Isolated whey, right? Or hydrolyzed whey. None of those cheap wheys, okay? Those have a lot of sugar, so you need to spread this protein throughout the day. You need to have a lot of protein, my friends, right? Basically, protein is the building block of muscle, the amino acids that build muscle. So the first step of the protocol, reduce carbohydrates, especially refined ones, okay? Sugar, flour, you already know, right? Starchy foods. For example, in the morning, Moacir, I get up in the morning and eat bread with margarine, coffee with milk. There's barely any protein, right? It's much better to have an omelet with cheese in the morning, right? I'm from Minas, so I can't live without cheese. By the way, Belo Horizonte's Central Market has great cheeses. An omelette with cheese, even couscous with dried beef or chicken or cheese. You need to have protein. You need to have eggs. You need to have cheese. You need to have meat in the morning, okay? If you only eat bread, if you only eat foods made from flour, muscle gain won't happen, okay? You need more protein than a young person. That's the main point. All foods need to be very rich in protein. Great. Point 2. Still talking about nutrition. Especially if you're over 55 or 60 years old, you have trouble breaking things down, like I mentioned to you about digestion. So there's this difficulty. It's interesting, especially for those who are over 55 or 60. Try digestive enzymes, okay? I don't know if you can find that at the pharmacy, okay? I think you might, but on the internet, you can find it easily. Digestive enzymes are usually a supplement that contains papain, usually bromelain, usually pancreatine, lipase, and protease. These are enzymes that help with the breakdown. I recommend people over 55 or 60 use digestive enzymes. This makes digestion easier, helps with the breakdown, and improves absorption. So it's an interesting supplement. If you've had your gallbladder removed, okay? Use it along with mineral salts, all right? Mineral salts. If you don't have a gallbladder, then your release of mineral salts is compromised. So it can help mainly with the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins. So we talked about nutrition. Nutrition is simple, my friends. Basically, you have to increase your protein intake. How many grams per kilogram? Good question. Look, you can calculate at least about 2 grams per kilogram of body weight, okay? In other words, if you consume at least 2, okay, my friends, it really depends on your goals, whether you want to gain muscle or just maintain. So vary between 2 grams and 3, okay? From 2 grams to 3 per kilogram of body weight. So if you weigh 70 kilograms, you need 140 grams of protein daily, right? More or less. But 140 grams of protein isn't the same as 140 grams of meat, right? Isn't it? So you have to check how much protein is in the meat. It's less than you think, okay? So it has to be 140 grams of pure protein. If you weigh 70 kilos, okay, so that's more or less the calculation. It varies from 2 to 3 grams of protein per kilo. Protein, not meat, okay? Supplement. Moacir, you said that back when I was younger, for example, when I was more excited about bodybuilding. Now I'm not anymore. No. I used to take creatine. Creatine was everything back then, right? Now creatine is back in full force, especially because of its effects on the mind. Creatine, my friends, is perhaps the most recommended supplement for those who are over 40, 50, 60 years old. Why? Because from that age on, sarcopenia begins, which is the progressive physiological loss of muscle mass. And creatine is the most studied, most efficient, and safest ergogenic aid. Creatine does not affect testosterone production levels. It works on the recovery of adenosine triphosphate, our energy currency, since it speeds up this recovery and muscles grow during recovery. It improves muscle recovery. As a result, more muscle growth. It increases energy production during exercise. Therefore, it increases strength. And strength is very important. Yes, it's 1 to 1.5 grams. Why? For maintenance. But to gain, no. For those over 40, 50, or 60, absorption isn't enough either. So yes, about 1 gram per kilo to maintain, considering young people and maintenance. To gain, if you're over 40, over 50, then it goes from 2 to 3, okay? That's the point. Thank you for the question. So friends, creatine is the best supplement and the most recommended for this age, okay? Adenosine triphosphate recovery, strength gain, right? It's muscle power. So when you're working out, if you have more strength, if you have more power, right? If you have more punch, you do more sets, you lift more weight. With that, you'll tear and you'll have better gains. So by far, creatine is mandatory. Mandatory for anyone over 40, 45, okay? Mandatory. Which creatine? There are many good options available on the market. Personally, I use Nutrix creatine because it has beta-hydroxy, beta-methylbutyrate, and taurine. What's the advantage of that? Beta-hydroxy, beta-methylbutyrate, which is hydroxymethylbutyrate, works to preserve muscle mass. So you're already using creatine, which helps with energy gain, along with beta-hydroxy, beta-methylbutyrate, which works to protect that muscle mass. It doesn't let you lose. Why? Because I'm going to have someone bothering me here. Let me block them. This person here, because they're bothering me. Just a moment, sorry. So my friends, it's very important for you to protect your muscle mass. When you're exercising, you lose muscle mass at that moment. You end up losing muscle mass because it's the tearing. So beta-hydroxy, beta-methylbutyrate. Oh, I'm going to mention the discount code here, okay? Sorry, everyone. Good reminder, okay? I'll mention the discount code for you. I always forget, so remind me. Beta-hydroxy, beta-methylbutyrate ends up protecting that muscle mass. This makes creatine more effective, and combining it with beta-hydroxy, beta-methylbutyrate works well. And together with taurine, which enters the mitochondria, further enhancing energy gain. That's why I need you, my friends. I need you to vote for me at the UI Best Awards, okay? If you haven't voted today, you have to vote every day until the 13th. I need you to remind me of these things. After all, I'm already 51. No. And at 51, I don't think I felt my memory failing yet. No. We'll start soon, right? Anyone age 55 to 60, okay? What is B12? B12 is a very serious problem. And vitamin B12 is essential for muscle gain. B12 is essential for muscle gain. It's essential for energy. If you have no energy, your thinking is slow, you don't feel like doing anything, it could be a B12 deficiency. It's very common in people over 55, 60 years old, very common. Look so you can see. I used to take a high dose of B12 supplement to lower homocysteine, right? I use, right? A supplement based on methylcobalamin. And here's the detail. B12 always in the form of methylcobalamin, never in the form of kinocobalamin. So I used 5,000 micrograms of methylcobalamin, 5,000. I used pyridoxal 5-phosphate, and I used methylfolate. My B12 was high last year, so I stopped using it and forgot about it. I just got tested again. My B12 went down. Look so you can see, huh? Why? Because our acidity goes down. For example, with prazoles like omeprazole and esomeprazole, these medications can be even worse in life. Because to absorb B12, you need something in your stomach called intrinsic factor. It's the intrinsic factor that promotes the absorption of vitamin B12. It's the intrinsic factor. And for the intrinsic factor to be activated, you need acidity. And if your acidity is low, the intrinsic factor is not activated. You can eat unlimited liver. You can eat meat, which are foods rich in B12, right? Rich in B12. Usually organ meats, right? Heart is high in B12. If your acidity is low, absorption drops. B12 is important. You need to supplement B12 preferably in sublingual form, because even if you take it in capsules, absorption can be compromised exactly because of the intrinsic factor. You have two B12 options, sublingual, and if it's very low, what I call very low, below 500. Then you give an injectable dose, okay? Intramuscular, and methylcobalamin. Don't use cyanocobalamin, all right? So you give an intramuscular dose, boost that B12, and then keep up with sublingual maintenance. All right. I use 5,000 micrograms, okay? Because my homocysteine is high, so I take 5,000 micrograms of methylcobalamin. It's not for everyone. Talk to your doctor first, okay? I use methylcobalamin, methylfolate, and pyridoxal 5-phosphate exactly to regulate homocysteine. This supplement, by the way, I think is on my personal supplement list. Later, you can go to the website and check it out. I think it's there. B12, B12. So if your memory is bad, what is our ideal level of B12? Preferably above 900, okay? I know that your test says that above 300 is great. It's not. B12 is over 900, okay? Over 900. It has to be above 900, okay? So that gives, why? Because that's for another live stream, okay? Why do those tests show a good value when it's not? That's for another live stream. I'm not going to go deeper into that, otherwise we'll be here for a long time. Two other supplements that aren't as famous for muscle gain but are essential. Vitamin D and magnesium, okay? They are important components, not only in testosterone production, which is essential for muscle gain, but also in muscle building and energy generation. So if you have low magnesium levels and your vitamin D is low, and everyone has low D because nobody gets sun anymore, you're going to have impaired muscle building, among other problems, right? Among other problems, and for vitamin D, you need to have, your immunity will drop and you'll have a higher chance of developing a number of diseases because vitamin D modulates a large part of our DNA. Vitamin D, my friends, is a hormone, okay? It's not even a vitamin, it's a hormone, okay? I'm not discussing the right dose, Gail, since it varies a lot. It depends a lot on how your B12 is. So I don't want to give a specific amount. But an amount for maintenance that usually works is 1 milligram per day, okay? It usually works sublingually. Because, man, it's no use increasing the intrinsic factor, right? If your acidity is low and the intrinsic factor doesn't work, then... But it's not a rule, no. It depends too, okay? Capsule, right? If it's not going above 600, your intrinsic factor likely isn't activating your B12. So I recommend sublingual. Try it, then go with sublingual, okay? Because if I start talking about dosage here, I'll end up getting myself in trouble. Every patient is different. Not everyone is the same. For maintenance, usually 1 milligram sublingual, not microgram. It's usually enough, okay? It's usually enough. Vitamin D and magnesium are very important. So that's what I always say, right, friends? I consider some supplements kind of essential for those over 40. Look, creatine is one of them, vitamin D, and you should take it regularly, okay? How long should I take it, doctor? My professor used to joke about this. He used to joke like this, even to die, you took it for one more day. Like you should really take it until the end, right? So look, creatine, vitamin D, magnesium, omega-3. For those who are over 40 and coenzyme Q10, it's kind of mandatory, okay? If you're over 40, 45, there's not much you can do. You'll have to supplement. When we're young, we have the option to supplement. Once you reach a certain age, there's no avoiding it, right? You'll have to supplement because coenzyme production drops. Creatine is essential for preserving muscle mass, especially with beta-hydroxy, beta-methylbutyrate. Magnesium is always low, our diet is poor, and few people get much sun these days. Omega-3, who really gets omega-3 from their diet nowadays? No one. All the fish we eat now are farm-raised, right? Hydroxymethylbutyrate is a substance that prevents muscle catabolism. This substance is very interesting. That's why I like it along with creatine. Well, my friends, these are the supplements that I consider the most... I almost forgot another one. There's a supplement, guys, that's really cool. Actually, it's an herbal medicine, okay? You guys have probably heard of it. It's fenugreek. Fenugreek has an interesting property. Because our testosterone circulates bound to a protein called sex hormone binding globulin. So 97, 98% of our testosterone is bound to this sex hormone binding globulin, and it has no function. Only 2 or 3% circulates freely, and that's the one responsible for potency, muscle gain, strength, and cognition, right? Testosterone does all of that. When you take fenugreek, it releases more testosterone in its free form. So let's suppose you have about 3% testosterone. That testosterone goes up to 3.5, 4. It seems like a small amount, but it makes a huge difference. A huge difference in muscle, power, energy, and cognition. So it's a supplement that I really like, fenugreek, but, oh, right, D together with K2. Thank you, Gail. I was almost forgetting. Guys, it's not causing any acidity. I'm just going to test these. Funny, it was supposed to work. There must be some promotion happening there, guys. There must be some promotion, okay? I'll ask. I'll get in touch with the folks at NutriX to see if our coupon, try it again over there. Claudini, let me know. If needed, I'll get in touch with the folks there on Monday. I don't know. But there must be some promotion going on there. They're always running some kind of promotion, all right? So, my friends, I even forgot what I was talking about. Talking about fenugreek. First, vitamin D, always together with K2. Gail just reminded me here. In the ratio of 2,000 international units, for every 2,065 micrograms of K2, for those with arterial calcification, and you have to take fenugreek with caution. First, it must be dry extract fenugreek. This will be on YouTube, okay? It needs to be standardized dry extract fenugreek. This is very important. This applies to all herbal medicines, to all plants. It needs to come in the form of standardized dry extract. Why? Because the plant in its natural form has very little. It's not concentrated. It has only a small amount of the substance that has the therapeutic effect. For example, turmeric is an excellent anti-inflammatory, but it needs to be a dry extract standardized to 95% curcuminoids. The one at any supermarket has 15%. That's a small amount. You need to eat a lot of turmeric for it to be therapeutic. And it's the same with fenugreek. You need to take fenugreek in a standardized dry extract. At least 300 milligrams of furostanol, which is the saponin that matters. This saponin will have this effect of releasing testosterone. So on my list of supplements, there's Power Menta fenugreek. Power Menta contains dry extract, 300 mg of furostanol, plus magnesium and zinc. This supplement is really cool. I like it a lot too, to help increase testosterone production, which is essential for gaining muscle mass. I mentioned supplements and you start asking questions, right? Supplements are important, and I always say that. It's essential, almost mandatory at our age. I already use 50 plus. But it's just the icing on the cake, okay? If you don't take care of that first point I mentioned, which is your diet, and if you don't take care of the other point I'm going to talk about next, the supplement isn't going to work miracles, okay? For women too, Janio, it's not going to work miracles for women either, all right? So I want to make that very clear. Anyone who tells you that a miracle supplement is going to do this or that, if you don't do your part too, they're just fooling you. You need to have the right diet, which we talked about in the first part of this video. There's supplementation, which is essential. And there's this part that I'm going to talk about right now, which is the matter of physical exercise. Back then, when you were 20 or 30 years old, physical exercise was just a suggestion. Look, physical exercise is good if you want to look better, right? You want to lose belly fat, live longer and more, right? Then you need to exercise. It's no longer a suggestion, it's now an obligation, okay? Once you're over 40, 50, 60, the older you get, the more of an obligation it is. Because as I get older, first, weight gain, also because of hormonal reasons. Second, sarcopenia, which is this progressive loss of muscle mass. This progressive loss of muscle mass is terrible. So much so that you see, the older a person gets, the more you notice it. Their arms start getting thinner, right? Thin arms, right? Looks like the person is drying up, right? That's severe sarcopenia. How do you fight it? Physical exercise with the right diet, with adequate levels of B12, creatine, vitamin D, magnesium, supplements, but mainly regular exercise. So my friends, what about exercise? First, it's no longer just a suggestion, as I said, it becomes mandatory. That's the first point. And second, the exercise needs to be more age specific. For example, I'll go from worst to best. Someone comes up to me and says, Moacir, I walk 3 times a week. I have the following answer for you. Then you're basically doing nothing. Walking isn't really exercise. It's just okay. At least you're not at home drinking beer and watching Netflix, right? At least it's not exercise, okay? Walking. Oh, but is walking better than nothing? Walking is better, but it's close to nothing, okay? Close to nothing. What is exercise? It's what you go, you're going to get tired, you're going to sweat. Running, Moacir, I like to run. If you like to run, then run, okay? Run. It's the best exercise for this age. Good for cardiovascular health, but not for muscle gain. It will solve the muscle mass problem in the lower limbs, close upper limbs. It will be missing, right? Biking already helps, but still, it's the same problem as running. Only lower limbs, upper limbs, no. So we need to work on lower limbs, upper limbs, and cardiovascular. So my friends, someone asked me this question here. How much exercise per week? As much as possible, what I do every day, including Saturdays and Sundays, even on holidays. Why? Why do I do it every day? Because there will be a day when I'll travel, a day when there will be an event, a day when there will be a party, a day when it will be raining. Something will happen. So if you plan to do it every day, you can at least 5 times a week. At least 5 times a week. 3 times a week is not enough, okay? 3 times a week is okay for someone who's young, a guy who's 20, 25, 30 years old. 3 times a week, that's fine. He works 1 muscle group per week, but for us at 40, 50, it's not enough. At least 4, guys, ideally 5, and every day, right? And then you have to make a combination like this. If you did legs today, you can't do them tomorrow. You'll only do legs again after 48 hours. If you did arms today, you can't do them tomorrow. You have to do back, you have to do chest, you have to do shoulders, you have to do something else. So always give a 48-hour rest for each muscle group, because the muscle grows during rest, not during exercise. We think that the muscle grows during exercise because it gets a little pumped up, right? Have you noticed that? You do weight training and it gets a little pumped up. That little swelling is an inflammatory process due to the muscle tear. It gets a tear and swells up. It's like a helpful inflammatory process, but it grows during rest. It's when you go to sleep, it's when you recover. Creatine is essential for building strength, boosting energy, and aiding recovery. That's why for me, it's the most recommended. So you need to take that rest. Then do cardio on Sunday. Do cardio. You keep rotating like that, right? But how many times a week, Moacir? As much as possible, right? As much as possible. And there's another thing, guys. It seems like you have to spend 2 hours at the gym. No, it's just 40 minutes. Oh no, it's just 40 minutes. I go to the gym for 40 minutes. I did 3 sets for arms and shoulders, done. Let's go, right? Creatine causes minor swelling, not severe swelling. It's because when you saturate creatine, it gets into the muscle fiber and pulls water along with it. That creates a Cinderella effect on muscle. People using creatine seem to have more prominent muscles, right? It's because creatine pulls water, right? Since it pulls water, the muscle swells, but it's not the kind of swelling that causes cellulite. It's different, okay? So exercise regularly, preferably every day. And here's a point that's fundamental. It's fundamental: sleep. I know that's a problem for many people. Why is it fundamental? If you sleep poorly, if you don't have a good night's sleep, you have low levels of growth hormone. What is growth hormone? It's growth hormone, right? But growth hormone isn't only for those who are still growing, my friends. We produce growth hormone throughout our lives, though in smaller amounts. Since production decreases, we need to. It has a production peak at night. If you sleep poorly, this production drops. You need good sleep to have maximum production of growth hormone. Growth hormone. What does growth hormone do? It promotes muscle growth and burns fat. The more growth hormone you have, the less fat and more muscle. Low growth hormone means more fat and less muscle. So we need to be, oh, I forgot to mention whey, right? We need to be managing. We need to be sleeping well, okay? A good night's sleep is essential. So my friends, people are asking about supplements. I put the link there, okay, my friends, in the comments. It's there, right? It's also in my bio, okay? Check my bio or the comments to find it, okay? The supplement list includes the costs, okay? By the way, I was talking about sleep. So sleep, my friends, is fundamental. Oh, but I can't fall asleep. I can't sleep. I have trouble sleeping. I'm stressed. See, there it is again, right? That could be another live just to talk about sleep, right? In fact, I have live streams here about that. I have videos on the channel about sleep. But just to sum it up here, okay? The biggest enemies of sleep. First, all the lights on, right? Lights on throughout the whole house. You'll sleep poorly because light blocks melatonin. You already make little melatonin, then turn on the lights. It's going to be a problem. So keep the house dark. Avoid discussions about politics, soccer, religion, or whatever it is on WhatsApp, right? Your brain gets very agitated. That messes up your sleep. And there, an hour and a half before going to bed, sleep hygiene, right? So you watch a really intense Netflix series, super violent. Even if it's not violent, just intense. If you do this before bed, it'll affect your sleep. Just look at what happened to me, my friends. I'm telling you this. Sometimes I make mistakes too, okay? I watched the first episode of the Netflix series Adolescence at night before bed. I'm not sure who has seen Adolescence. It's an extremely shocking series. It's not violent, but it's shocking because it's about teenagers. The series is shocking. The first episode was shocking. This series really affected me, and I went to sleep after watching it. I didn't sleep at all that night because my brain was stuck on that story, stuck on that shocking issue. So it might seem silly, but what you watch before going to sleep makes all the difference in your sleep, to fall asleep and to sleep well. And of course, right, you can make use of various tricks. I talked about teas in our last live. I talked about Morambu tea. I talked about valerian tea. I talked about chamomile tea. Using melatonin is an option, right? There's melatonin combined with tryptophan, right, with inositol. Magnesium is also excellent for having a good night's sleep. There are tricks, right? There are tricks, right? So this sleep hygiene is important. Drinking teas, right? Melatonin and supplements like magnesium may help too. Someone pointed out to me here that I didn't talk about whey. I really didn't talk about whey, guys. I like whey a lot because it's very, how can I explain it to you? Versatile. It's a very versatile supplement. So for example, I'm in a phase right now where I lost a lot of weight because I did a fasting protocol. I like doing this fasting. I'm 3.5 kilos below my weight. So I need to gain muscle, right? I also don't want to gain fat. I want to gain muscle. So I'm going to have to eat more than I'm used to. So the whey helps me a lot, okay? So for example, in the middle of the afternoon, I go there. I like it because I put the whey here at the bottom. 2 tablespoons, then I head to my appointments. I add water. I like to add sparkling water. Look, mix it and it's ready. It has 23 grams of protein, 10 gulps. So I really like whey because it's versatile. So I don't think it's a good idea for you to replace your meals with whey because whey is expensive. Good whey is expensive, right? So if you're home, won't you use whey? You'll eat eggs, cheese, chicken breast, and meat, right? I like whey because of its versatility. Are you traveling or at work? A food that's hard to carry, whey, just 2 little scoops in, a shaker like this one, and it's ready. I need to use more whey since I'm starting a muscle gain protocol and have to increase my intake a bit. I'm on the way due to the fasting protocol I followed. There's also a live session about fasting. If you won't watch it later, watch now. Whey, which is best, Moacir? There are many great whey brands, but give preference to isolated whey and hydrolyzed whey, okay? Because of the absorption, and sometimes to essential amino acids as well, sometimes two. But don't take them together. It's either one or the other, either essential amino acids or whey, okay? I usually leave essential amino acids more for the night with water or with milk. I don't like milk, okay, my friends? Milk is a very inflammatory food and it has a lot of casein. I'm already from Minas Gerais and I can't give up cheese, okay? So cheese is hard for me. A person from Minas Gerais doesn't give up cheese, no. A person from Minas Gerais gives up everything, but not cheese. So I can't give up cheese. So I don't like milk and I don't recommend it, okay? I think whey with water is better. Casein is a problem. Casein is an inflammatory protein. That could be another live stream, right? You see how one topic leads to the next, right? Mass gainer? No way. Mass gainer, my friends. It's for young people, like my 14-year-old son. I don't let him use it. He's working out now, wants to build his body. I don't let him use it. It's for young people, okay? If you're over 40, mass gainer will just become fat. Insulin, don't use it. Mass gainer is whey, isolated whey or hydrolyzed whey. Read the label, as little carbohydrate as possible, okay? Whey is protein. It's no use having 23 grams of protein and 23 grams of carbohydrate. That's too much carbohydrate. You're buying whey because you want protein. Avoid the concentrate. Choose hydrolyzed or isolated forms instead. And the higher the amount of protein and the lower the carbohydrate, the better, okay? Better. Essential amino acids are great, Rajan. I usually use both for the lowest price. I like to use whey in the afternoon and essential amino acids. Since I like to fill my belly at night, I usually use them. Same here. I'll start this protocol this morning and use it at night, right? All right. My friends, I discussed isolated or hydrolyzed whey here. My friends, 2 questions. First, this live will be available on YouTube, okay? From the start, you can go and share it. We solved a small initial problem, okay? So just fast forward the beginning. Yes, everything will be fine. It will be on YouTube. People are asking there. My supplement list is in my bio, the video description, and on my website, www.moacir.com.br. It's all there. And one last thing, just to remind you, have you voted for me today on iBest? Have you voted for me? Today we managed to be among the top 4 in Brazil, Thanks to you. By the way, thank you very much, okay? They put me in 4th place today in Brazil in the last 24 hours, and yesterday we were in 2nd place in the last 24 hours. But you have to vote every day. Every day is a competition. I need your vote every day. In the morning, when you wake up, go to iBest and vote. The link is in my bio. The link is also in the description. Vote for Moacir, guys. I need to qualify. We're already qualifying, kind of, right? We have 20 days left, so let's stay focused. I need you all to vote every day to help me out with this endeavor. All right, guys, my friends, our podcast is already live, okay? Our podcast is already live. I'll leave the link there. Look. We're going to bring the biggest experts from Brazil to discuss the most interesting topics about health, quality of life, and longevity. Don't miss our podcast. People are loving it. It's really cool. Subscribe to the podcast channel. For now, the videos are here on this channel too, but soon they'll only be on the podcast channel. So subscribe. If you're already subscribed here, subscribe to the podcast channel, okay? There are already 2 episodes there. One discusses women's health. The other covers cardiology and cholesterol. Really cool. It's worth checking out our podcast. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was useful for you. Don't forget to share, and I'll be waiting for you in our video tomorrow, okay? Tomorrow is video day, Monday. I'll be waiting for you, my friends. A big hug. Now there's a game, Flamengo and Palmeiras. Let's watch. Who's for Flamengo? Who's for Palmeiras? Comment below. Are you rooting for Palmeiras? Are you rooting for Flamengo? Let's watch the game now. A big hug, my dear friends. Until our next conversation. See you then.